Alright, welcome back everyone. Today we have a brand new Boruto chapter. We have Boruto chapter 25, Those Girls. Now this chapter, we're going to kind of go through it very quickly. It's mainly a discussion chapter, so there's not a whole lot to break down or really look through. But we do get some interesting stuff, some stuff that I like to see, and we get a very big reveal at the end of the chapter as well. Let's go ahead and get into this. So let's start off, of course, with the cover page. For the cover page, this time we have Himawari and our boy Kurama on the cover. We see Himawari is rocking a new look with the Kurama shirt and also Kurama pants. He has the Ninetales right here on the pocket. So, pretty good cover. Nothing too crazy. I like the colors used for this. The colors all match very well, you know, like blue, or I guess light blue, like neon-ish yellow. It's like a really... It's almost like a green. I don't know, maybe it's just my screen, but it's almost like a green neon, like a neon green yellow for the title. Kurama's, the red on Kurama and like the red coming off of Himawari's clothes from the Kurama logo is a really nice contrast. Overall, good cover. Nothing too amazing, but nothing bad either, so let's go ahead and start off with the chapter. So to start off, we of course pick up where we left off with Konohamaru. And then returning to the Leaf Village, Konohamaru proceeds to insert the thorn bulb into Moegi's tree, and it ends up working. No issues, the tree dissolves, Moegi comes out. She does seem a little dazed, but it does seem like she has her memories back, as she does recognize Konohamaru as he pulls her out of the tree. And we see that Boruto is actually observing the entire thing from up above. He's just flying in the air, just aura farming up there. I guess either no one realizes he's up there, or because of what just happened, that no one's kind of after him right now. Like, I understand why Konohamaru wouldn't try to go after him right now, because he did just help them get back to the Leaf Village and stuff, but you would think other Leaf Shinobi in the area would be like, oh, Boruto's up in the sky floating, or the sensory unit would be like, Boruto's in the area. But, seems not. I guess Boruto can hide his chakra from the sensory unit, but... Yeah, and Kawaki, of course, isn't going to do anything right now, because him and Boruto are working together to stop Jura. We then cut back to the Sand Village. Kankuro is communicating with Shikamaru, telling him that Shinki has also been restored back from the tree, so now both Ryu and Matsuri's trees are destroyed. Both of their hosts are now back. Gaara has been released from the sealing jutsu, but he is not conscious yet. But he's not critically injured, so he just has to wake up. They expect him to wake up soon. So it seems like everything is going right in the Sand Village. Sai walks into Shikamaru's office telling him that the elders are calling, and Shikamaru says that he'll be right there. We then cut to the hospital. We get to see Sakura for the first time in a while. Sakura explaining how Moegi seems to be perfectly fine, no bone muscle atrophy, and no organ issues. Basically, she's just malnutrition right now because of the tree sapping all of her chakra to basically form Matsuri. But besides that, she's perfectly fine. So everyone's relieved to hear about that. We then see Sarada and Sumari exit the room after Sarada asks if Sumari has a minute to talk. Cut to them outside on like a balcony. I think it's the same area where Boruto met both of them the second time he returned to the Leaf Village, near the beginning of the manga, like right after Code's invasion. And they basically decide to talk about the conversation they had before, or at least Sarada does. Sarada asks to call her Sumari instead of calling her class rep. She says that's fine. And as they continue to talk, we see that Ada is actually peeking in on their conversation. Sarada then proceeds to explain that she's sorry for being insensitive about a lot of things and not realizing her real feelings, how she was hiding from them because of her own lack of power. And she asks Sumari if she remembers asking Sarada about other girls liking Boruto and if that bothers her. Sarada says, "At that point, I didn't lie to you. I didn't have any interest in Boruto, but as time went on, I seemed to think of him more and more, and I constantly worried about him as a teammate. But then I got confused about whether or not I was still worried about him as a teammate or if it was something more." Meanwhile, Ada's still listening to all this. And Sarada proceeds to say, me spending energy obsessing over this made me become a loser, and it made me questioning whether or not I wanted to become a Hokage. We then cut to a memory Sarada has of Yodo before she died, basically saying, you misunderstand, you're probably deluding yourself subconsciously. Because if you remember, Yodo was also trying to convince Sarada that she had feelings for Boruto, or at least had some inkling of feelings for him, that it wasn't just because he was a teammate to her. And Sarada basically tells Sumari, you see, I've decided to stop running. And she admits it. I also like Boruto. And we get a full screen page here for the reveal, and we see Ada covering her mouth in shock. I love this part just because first, it's nice to see conversations between characters and actually getting more than just the main plot. We're getting some other type of plots as well. There are side things happening. It's not just, granted, this is still revolving around just Boruto because it is a conversation about Boruto, but it's at least developing other characters in some way, even if it is still Boruto related. But I just love Ada's reaction to all this. She's watching this like it's for any Hispanics out there, she's watching this like it's her own telenovela, you know? Like, this is her own telenovela. She's watching, she's seeing this big reveal. I guess for people who don't know, it's like a soap opera. Like, this is her show, you know? She's tuning into her show right now. Like, it's just a really funny dynamic with Ada listening to all this. And Sarada basically continues on saying that wanting to help Boruto will make her stronger, and it makes her think she can still become Hokage. Those are her new feelings. And Sumari says, I already knew that's how you felt, Sarada. It was really obvious. And Sarada proceeds to say, back at ya. Sumari proceeds to thank Sarada for telling her directly, and that from this point on, she's not going to hold back anymore. And Sarada replies with, right back at you. We then cut back to Ada, who's upset because Sarada and Sumari decided to have such a super intense conversation with each other when she wasn't there. She didn't get to chime in. So Ada's upset that she wasn't a part of the girls' talk. And she immediately contacts the sensory unit, asking them to get her in contact with Sarada and Sumari. And that is the end of that conversation. So I know some people were a little upset about this entire conversation taking up a majority of the chapter. But like I said earlier, it's nice to get other plot points that aren't directly related to, you know, the main thing with the Otsutsuki and Boruto, because it's developing side characters. Now, granted, this is developing them by having them still be, you know, it's all about Boruto, which I think is an issue with the manga, that it's just way too focused on Boruto. It doesn't let other characters breathe. Something that the anime tried to fix, but, you know, the whole Boruto anime had a bunch of issues with people saying filler, anime canon, manga canon. This actually enhances the manga because it leads into an actual manga arc. There are so many issues with it. So many people discussing whether or not things should be taken for granted, or not granted, but taking things for canon or not, or even acknowledging them, and it's just, yeah. So for me, anytime we get to see something away from Boruto, granted, I love Boruto, he's my favorite character of all, one of my favorite characters of all time. It's still nice to see other characters get the spotlight a little bit and not just focus directly on him, even if we are still discussing them. I feel like I made my point confusing there, but regardless, let's move on. We cut to Himawari, who is meditating inside the Uzumaki household. And we see that she's not only meditating, she's actually training with Kurama. So we can see Kurama right here. We see Himawari throwing a punch at him, and he manages to dodge and retaliate back with the tail lash that hits Himawari. And then this might be, you would think this would be the most interesting part of the chapter, but it's actually the second most interesting part of the chapter, which is kind of crazy to say, but yeah. But Kurama basically tells Himawari to stop relying on her arm strength. Just stop relying on your actual strength. Instead, rely on your chakra. Do everything through chakra control, more than what an average shinobi would. And Himawari says, I understand that. I am a ninja, you know. And he says, no, you don't understand a thing because you aren't an ordinary shinobi. You're even different from a Jinchuriki, those who host the tailed beast inside of them. So she's even different from Naruto, Gaara, B. She's different from all of them, is what Kurama's trying to say. Kurama proceeds to say, Himawari, you are human, yet, if anything, you're closer to me in Jura than a Jinchuriki. And he says, I'm not talking about what you are or what you aren't here. The point is that this is a fighting style that you need to adopt, and this is just the beginning. Forget everything you know. Think of yourself as a personification of chakra. You are chakra in human form. So, Himawari is definitely going to turn into something special here. They're setting up something huge for her here, because the fact that they're mentioning that she's not even a Jinchuriki, that she's closer to Kurama and Jura, and that Kurama's trying to teach her how to fight as chakra itself, is extremely interesting. This is going to go in a different path than Naruto, I feel like. When at first it kind of seemed like Himawari is just going to be the new Jinchuriki. No, it's obvious that they're basically yelling it at us right here is, no, we're not turning Himawari into a Jinchuriki. We're not making her Naruto 2. You know, or Naruto 3, I guess. Boruto would be Naruto 2. But we're going to turn her into something different. And so, the fact that Kurama's trying to tell her that you are chakra in human form, it's just like, what exactly does he mean here? Like, what exactly is Himawari going to be able to do if she's more than just a Jinchuriki? If she's closer to Jura and Kurama than she is just a human, I guess. It's just so interesting to me that, like, I don't know, like, what exactly are they setting up here? It is so interesting to me. But regardless, Kurama doesn't explain much more. He basically just says, I'm tired, that we're done for today, and then he kicks Himawari out of the mind space as she wakes up back in the Uzumaki household. And Himawari, of course, is upset with Kurama, saying, damn it, Kurama, I wasn't done talking to you. And then we cut to the outside, and we see that Boruto is actually just across the street, watching the household from an adjacent rooftop. Once again, really interesting that no shinobi in the Leaf Village seems to be chasing after Boruto. You know, I'm assuming right here, maybe just no one sees him, but I don't know, I just find it weird. Maybe the Leaf Village is a little bit more cool with Naruto, or maybe they did pick up, Boruto. Maybe they did pick up on Boruto's presence in the area, and that's why Shikamaru got called by the elders. Maybe the elders are going to demand that he kills Boruto before he leaves the village again, and that's why they haven't made their move yet, because they need to tell Shikamaru this. Or maybe Shikamaru is about to lose his Hokage position, and whoever they appoint is about to launch a large-scale assault on Boruto before he leaves. Who knows? But now we get to the meat of this chapter, the biggest reveal. Boruto, while he's sitting on this roof, proceeds to enter his own mindscape. And we finally see the return of Momoshiki, as he's just floating there. And he asks Boruto, what's gone into you to come looking for me? The boy has finally returned. Momoshiki has arrived into Blue Vortex. Boruto proceeds to start the conversation by saying, yo, freeloader, I see you're as sad as ever. And Momoshiki says, I am sad, because you failed to die yet again, and you continue to live. I should have left everything alone when Kawaki killed you. Now, because of reincarnation no longer being possible, and with me unable to take over your mind either, there's only one thing my soul desires, for you to die and become nothing, so that I can be free. This makes me question some things. Does Boruto know... Did Boruto know before this that Momoshiki could not take over his mind? Because if he did, why is Boruto so afraid of the karma still? He's so afraid of the karma coming out. Why? If Momoshiki, the way I'm understanding this is, we knew that the reincarnation was no longer possible. We got that settled for us. But from my understanding, Momoshiki could still take over Boruto, because we saw him do it at the end of the pre-time skip, with letting Kawaki get away when him, Sasuke, and Sarada had him cornered. But instead, here Momoshiki's saying, I'm not able to take over your mind anymore. So does this mean, like, even if Boruto were to unleash the karma, Momoshiki wouldn't be able to do anything? He wouldn't be able to force him into the Boroshiki form if his chakra got low? Like, this makes it sound like Momoshiki legit has no more skin in the game, you know? He's legitimately completely done. He's done for. He just sits here and waits for his death, or waits for Boruto's death, that way he can die. It's just really interesting to me that that's mentioned. And Boruto's reaction doesn't really seem shocked, so it seems like he knew this. It seems weird to me that he would still be afraid of the karma if this is the case. I understand being cautious, which is maybe why he was okay with Kawaki doing it against Jura, because Boruto knew, alright, here Kawaki needs karma against Jura. We can risk it. Momoshiki says he can't take over, but just in case he can, this is a situation where that risk is, you know, acceptable. Whereas before, when the Hidden Leaf Village was attacked the first time, Boruto was focused on being the one who could stop the fight, or stop the fight against Hidari and Jura, that he couldn't afford for Kawaki to activate his karma and maybe accidentally release Momoshiki within the village. Like, maybe that's the reasoning here, is just, it depends on where he's at, where he determines if whether or not the risk is worth it. But regardless, Boruto continues to say, I'm here to ask you something. Could you lend me a hand? Momoshiki gets upset by this and says, don't make me laugh. Leave. And Boruto says, hear me out. I'll even compensate you for this. If we're able to kill Jura, I will give you my body. You can have everything you want, Momoshiki. Momoshiki just glares at Boruto after hearing him say this. So Boruto is willing to sacrifice everything, legitimately everything he has to offer in order to take down Jura. So this is just another, you know, red flag. Like, Boruto has had plenty of red flags so far in the time skip that makes it sound like this is going to end with him dying no matter what. And this is another one. This is another one where he's willing to give up his body in order to use Momoshiki's power to take down Jura. But this is not the final panel of the chapter. The final panel of the chapter is actually Sumire and Sarada continuing to talk. Saying, it's likely Boruto hasn't picked up on the fact on how we feel about him. And Sarada says, likely? Oh, he has no clue. Though honestly, that's what's endearing about him. And that is how the chapter ends. So, quite a big reveal. Kind of shocked that this isn't the final panel, that we actually go back to Sarada and Sumire for this little bit. I guess it's supposed to relate the fact that there's these people that care about him and want him to continue living. Meanwhile, Boruto seems like he's willing to throw away his entire life to save everyone else. Maybe that's the, like, feeling they were going here by having us go back to Sarada and Sumire. But regardless, amazing chapter. Mainly because we get some more development. We get to see that the thorn bulbs did work. Moegi and Shinki are both free. So Ryu and Matsuri are essentially out of the game. I don't think those two are out of the game, though. I feel like because Ryu and Matsuri were given some time to live, I would not be surprised if Jura is somehow able to reconstruct them himself without needing the two host bodies to still be stuck in the trees. So I would not be surprised if we see Ryu and Matsuri come back again in the future. Maybe just with less personality. Maybe they'll be just, like, enemies with no personality, so it'll just be bodies to fight. Yeah, I don't think we're done with those two yet, despite the fact that the trees are destroyed. So now we know that if Hidari does get killed and they do manage to recover his Thorn Bolt, it seems like Sasuke will be released from the tree without an issue. Unless for some reason his tree is a special occasion and for some reason he won't wake up. But then we have the Momoshiki conversation. And yeah, I don't know what to say, man. This is not a good sign for Boruto. It really is not. Hold up, I need to like drink water. Sorry about that. I like cough stuck in my throat. But yeah, not a good sign for Boruto. Really not a good sign. It's just another red flag for him. It definitely feels like the series is setting up a little bit for Boruto to die by the end of it in order for everything to be resolved. I really hope that's not the case. Because like I said earlier, he's one of my favorite characters of all time. I would like it for him to have a happy ending, but hey, you know, Naruto got a happy ending. Maybe Boruto will not have a happy ending since they have the reverse. Naruto was the boy who gained everything, and Boruto was the boy who had everything and then lost everything. You know, their stories are reversed, so maybe Boruto will get the sad ending, where in order to save everyone, he has to die. I guess we'll have to wait and see on how that goes, but then we have the Sarada Sumari conversation. We now know that Sarada does indeed have feelings for Boruto. She's admitted it herself. She's openly admitted it now. I am interested to know what Sumari exactly meant by she's no longer holding back, because it's not like either one of them see Boruto that often. It's not like they can go talk to him in the village or something, so I don't know. I feel like Sarada's the one who's more likely to see him on a consistent basis than Sumari, but who knows? We'll have to wait and see how that turns out. Then we can't forget about Himawari, who seems to be a tailed beast herself. Like, is she like a reincarnation of Kurama? Like, that doesn't make sense because she was born before Kurama died. But like, she's not a Jinchuriki. She's closer to Kurama and Jura, so... And Jura is essentially the 10 tails as a person. So I don't know. There's a lot of... They opened up a lot of questions this chapter to give us something to theorize about or think about for a while. And we don't really... Kind of hard to make a wild card prediction for the next chapter because there's nothing really here to go off of. I think next chapter we're just going to get probably a wrap-up to this Boruto Momoshiki conversation, and then maybe depending on what was said in the conversation, Boruto will either go discuss things with with Kawaki to let him know, hey, I made this basically death promise with Momoshiki, just letting you know. Or maybe him and Koji will have a conversation, because I'm sure Koji isn't exactly happy with Boruto right now, considering Boruto went completely off the rails with going to help them against Matsuri and Ryu when he wasn't supposed to. Thus, Jura ended up showing up. So yeah, we'll probably have... So that's what I'm going to probably predict. We get the ending to this Boruto Momoshiki conversation. We get Boruto and Koji discussing with each other. Maybe Koji expressing some frustration with Boruto for not listening to him. And maybe also telling him about the new predictions he saw. And we'll probably see Shikamaru talking to the elders. I feel like those are the three things that we're most likely to see next chapter. Let me know down below what you guys think we might see and what you thought about this chapter. Were you also part of the group of people that weren't too happy about this chapter kind of being majorly focused, or not majorly, but just taking up a lot of time with the Sarada Sumari conversation and maybe not enough of the Boruto Momoshiki conversation? But yeah, other than that, I am excited to see what we get next month. But with that being said, I hope you all have a good rest of your day/night. God bless, happy reading, and I will see you all next time. Peace out.